Hello lovely bookworms, I'm Esmay from Paradise of Pages on Instagram and welcome to a new video. As you can see, I am filming alone again, and that is because of inconvenience for both me and Femke and, well, convenience of getting videos up on time, hence why we decided to film our wrap-ups and TBRs apart. So without further ado, let's get into the books that I have read in November. Before I actually start with the books that I've read a total of 6 books, which for me, it still feels like a lot because I sort of slipped myself into a reading slump. I do have to say that half of the books that I've read here are rereads, so I can sort of go through those quicker than a normal book. And the other 3, well, 2 of them are okay books and then another one is quite small. But you will see that along those lines. So let's get to the first book. The first book that I've read this month, I don't think they're all in order, but bear with me, is a reread, and that is The Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. I think I've mentioned this in my TBR for November, but I did read it, so there's that. These are short stories in the Grishaverse, and I just really enjoy this. One of my favorites is actually Ayama and the Thornwood, which I think is the first one. Yeah, it's the first one. Let's see if I can show you the beautiful art print. This is something I really enjoy about these books. I also really like the last one. What's it called? What is it called? It's also the biggest one. When Water Sang Fire. That was it. Really enjoy these. I think it's just so nice to read once in a while to sort of get back into the swing of things, and it's an easy read. It's beautiful to read with all the illustrations, and hence why I gave it 5 out of 5 stars again. The next 2 books that I've read are also reread, and that's why I sort of swang through them more easily than last time, because I didn't feel as if, I had to sort of absorb everything, and I just enjoyed the ride again, and that is Stalking Jack the Ripper and Hunting Prince Dracula by Cara Maniscalco. A while back I read the third one, which is Escaping from Houdini, and that sort of got me thinking that I really wanted to reread both of these, which is something that I did this month. I really enjoyed them once again, and the only thing I can say is that these are so different from any normal book that you'll ever read. One, because, it's just sort of a detective, and a lot of fantasy young adult books, I don't think it's true fantasy, but it's sort of fantasy, is just, they're not like that, and it's just so different, and these are just so unique in, where they stand, and hence why I gave both books 5 out of 5 stars. I forgot to put the books in the shelf. I'll do that now. The next book I've read is actually a new book. Surprise, I can still read books that I haven't read before, and that is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nagan. I was very excited for this book. It sort of seemed as if it was right up my alley, like the Arabian Nights kind of feel, this, the struggle of being at court, the whole culture that, the protagonist is in, but it just kind of disappointed me. Don't get me wrong, it was really enjoyable, and I liked every minute of it, but there were just some things about this book that were not my favorite. I will probably make a separate review for this one. Stay tuned for that. I'm not sure yet if I will, though, but it's something that's on my mind, so stay tuned, but not really. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars, and while I still enjoyed it, and I will still read the second book, which I think is coming out somewhere next year, I think it could have been way better, and yeah. I do think it's beautiful, really like the sprayed edges in this one. I think mine is also signed, which is beautiful, and I will definitely keep this book, but I just expected a little bit more. The next book that I've read is a little one, and that is Fierce Fairy Tales by Nikita Gill. These are basically the fairy tales that we know, but then sort of told through a feminist lens, which means that in this one, for example, they don't need a prince, they can save themselves, those kinds of things. What I really liked about this one is that they also give a backstory to the villains. So for this one, for example, Ursula is in here, and it is explained why Ursula turned into Ursula. And it's just so unique in that aspect. I didn't give it 5 stars, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because some of the stories were just not up my alley. Of course, in poetry books or these kinds of books with small stories, poetry kind of stories, there's always something in there that you just don't like. But most of them were really good, and I can really recommend this if you like fantasy but you want to dip your toe into, you know, poetry or prose. So this is the 5th book that I've read. I've already come to the last book. This is going to be a small video. This one was actually challenged by Femke, and I'm happy that I managed to read it, and that is The Winner's Curse by Mary Ruthkowski. I'm currently reading the second one, and considering we're not in December yet, I might also finish that one, which is The Winner's Crime. And I really enjoyed this one. It was quick, it was easy, but as a lot of booktubers already mentioned, why don't they talk? If they would just, you know, speak to each other about their problems, this book would have been, you know, so not needed in a way. I mean, the story is still really interesting, and I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, but it would have just been so much easier if they would just talk to each other. That said, I did really like the characters in here. I think they all have great potential, and I'm very excited to see what will happen in the second and in the third book, which is what I'm continuing now. I hope to be able to finish at least one more this month, because I have a few more days, like 3, but you know. You'll see that in my weekly vlogs because I'll talk about these. And yeah, really enjoyed this one. These were all the books that I've read in November, and half of them are rereads, then I have a small book, and there's 2 new books. So I don't think it's the best reading month for me. I think it's the exact opposite for Femke. She read tons and tons of books, but I just sort of slipped myself into a reading slump, and I just hope that December will be better. Let us pray. Let us pray. However, I do want to thank you for watching. Sometimes it's nice to have a small video, like a short video that you can just sort of watch in between. Please give us a thumbs up, comment down below which books you have read in the month of November, subscribe to our channel and press that little bell icon so you get post notifications every single time that we post, and I will see you guys the next time. Bye!